This is the Eye for an Eye channel. Welcome to today's show. A subscriber over on the website uprisingrevival.com, Willow Fox, posted this. And again, these are the things that people like me would never see. And I'm going to share it with you. And none of you probably had seen it or would have seen it if you weren't residing or watching the news at the exact time that this aired. That's why the website is just excellent for getting information out to one another. And Willow Fox posted this. So I want to thank Willow Fox for sharing it and everybody on the website for all the stuff that they share. This is an event in the sky occurring over Dallas, Texas. And I want to note that they were doing a basic weather report, and you could hear that the broadcasters, the weatherman, etc., were all kind of at a loss for words at what they were seeing, because this wasn't something that was supposed to get on the air. And if you actually look into this and Google it and whatever search engine you want to use, you'll see that there is no story out there as of right now deflecting on what this was in the sky. Most of the time, they'll do something like this, and then the next day they'll tell you it was Starlink or something like that. This is not Starlink. We've all seen Starlink in the sky. This is something that looks like it could be a preparation test run for Project Bluebeam, or do not forget about what appears over the sky in a lot of these weather situations when they shoot, those rays into the ionosphere, quote unquote. And then conveniently right after that, we have fires, earthquakes, hurricanes, etc. We saw it, of course, in Turkey. So I'll get into that in more detail. But this is the actual clip posted on the website from Willow Fox of what was going on in the sky. And of course, the newscaster's like, oh, that's very interesting. Well, it certainly isn't fireworks, and it's certainly not Starlink. So an explanation would be something we'd all like, but of course, they'll just pretend like this never happened.
With my glasses on, you're seeing more than me. That's okay. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Dan Henry. Maybe you have some answers for us, Dan.
I noticed that. I'll have to look into that. It looks very interesting there.
So when we see something like this, of course, what is the first thing that comes to mind, right? Well, for the common person, you have to look at it from the perspective of us and then the zombie. The zombie sees this, and they're continually getting conditioned so much with UFOs that when they see stuff like this in the sky, they're just assuming, oh yeah, it's some type of UFO. Interesting. They're getting so desensitized by this stuff that they actually are accepting that it could be a UFO as the explanation. They never, ever, ever think for 1 second that it could be the government doing things in the sky, which is exactly what they should be thinking. Now, the government obviously has the ability to create fake UFOs. We've all talked about it, right? And we all know the difference between aliens and demons, because demons are aliens. Aleister Crowley wrote this in his book a long time ago. I've covered it 1 trillion times, and I'll continue to cover it 1 trillion times, because every day that new subscribers stumble upon this channel and the next channel and the next channel, I will be doing everything I can to wake them up to this stuff. So UFOs is another psychological operation for the New World Order. It's another way to herd everyone into a oneness. The New World Order and the Antichrist movement is based on one. It's the Tower of Babel recreated. One language, one everything. Okay, you see what's going on with the genders? Okay, one gender, one everything. That is what the New World Order is based on. It's really could easily be called a one world order. That's what I've referenced it as for years. So when you see a clip like this, you have to watch how the news reacts to it. This didn't get thrown out there where they were like, oopsie daisy, and they cut away, or suddenly there's propaganda all over the place, because this story has had a chance to settle, and it's nowhere. There's no articles about this. There's nothing out there except for people who have taken pictures or saw the newscast live and put it up on Twitter or put it up on other social media sites saying, what in the world was this? So in other words, they didn't want you to see this. It wasn't planned for you to see this. This isn't some cagey way for them to say, oopsies, look what we showed you, because of the reaction to it, how they're reacting to it, how it's not getting any legs, the story's not moving anywhere. A lot of the times you'll see stories like this. I'm going to show you an example between that and between what they do with things like Starlink. They make a mockery of like, ooh, what's in the sky tonight at 11? Weird things in the sky. And then they just waste your time and tell you that it's Starlink, like they did in this news clip from the same exact news station.
Welcome back, 7:13. What was this?
What was it? That's the question. Several viewers emailed to say that they saw something very unusual last night in the skies over North Texas. Viewers Stacy Stark and Holly Honeycutt sent us videos showing a fuzzy light in the sky around 9:27 in the evening. It was moving from west to the east. It appeared to be in the clouds, but there were no clouds around. As it got closer, it blew a cloud of smoke from it that turned into a ring. The producer of this show happened to see it as well and quickly figured out what it was. About 90 minutes before that weird sight appeared over North Texas, SpaceX launched a Falcon 9 rocket with 22 more Starlink satellites on board. The rocket headed in an unusual southeasterly direction from Cape Canaveral in Florida, and that meant that about 90 minutes later, it would be over North Texas, coming from the west to the east. And in fact, you can see that on the orbital map SpaceX provided during their launch coverage. It's likely that that fuzzy nature of the light was actually all 22 of these Starlink satellites bunched together, and the puff of smoke was from the second stage as SpaceX prepared to deorbit it over the ocean later.
I am so glad you explained all that.
And now you know
Brandon knows
the rest
all
of the
this stuff.
story.
I mean, he's a walking encyclopedia.
Not me,
Brandon
our
Todd.
producer.
I know.
Yeah.
And of course, all that stuff in the sky was probably it was probably to throw everybody off and take their brains away from the fact that Twitter has a big X now in front of it.
Right.
It's Elon Musk's way of saying, you know what, let's just draw attention away from that.
So there you see how they want people to kind of, they use programming to get into people's heads that it could be a UFO. People tune in to see what in the world it was, then they just tell them it's Starlink. They can't even come out and say it's Starlink because it doesn't look like Starlink. So then people have to start saying to themselves, okay, what was in the sky? There wasn't a light show. There wasn't any fireworks going on in Dallas. Then the questions start arising of Project Bluebeam, right? We all know of Project Bluebeam and what the plans are with Project Bluebeam. Okay, they're going to create an event in the sky. If people don't think they have the technology to do it, think again. They do this all around the earth. They create these events in the sky as far as test runs go. We always see stuff that they're doing with test runs in the night, in the deserts, in places that usually you can't see it. So this being over a city tells us that Texas could be a place that's specifically targeted. Now, there's a lot of reasons to think about Texas being targeted for one of these events, whether it's using Project Bluebeam there or a weather event, is that Texas is one of the states that they've done the herding mechanism in, right? They've herded Republican conservatives to Texas. Oh, we don't have mandates. Oh, we could carry at grocery stores. We could do all these things. Free speech in Texas, right? We know that they're hurting people based on politics, which really is just based on not what political party you vote for, more so strict ideologies, right? We know that every single liberal at this point is going to poison themselves. Every one of them is going to want these certain things that the liberal party, Democratic Party tell them that they should want. And then they push it on everyone else. So this is a way and a mechanism to divide everybody. So Texas is a state that's pretty much a sitting duck for the most part. Texas and Florida, they've been hurting people there. So what's the other thing that we know happens in Texas and Florida all the time? Are these weather events, okay? So if you're not familiar, a lot of these events that they do, like with HAARP, they shoot this ray into the sky, right? We've all seen the beam coming out of HAARP, okay? And what happens? Well, just like in Turkey, when this strange cloud, this strange sky appeared, you know what happened like 48 hours later? A massive, massive earthquake that pretty much wiped out all of Turkey and wiped out thousands upon thousands of people. We'll never know the accurate number. It's one of the most devastating things that you could possibly see. But I mean, pretty much at this point, we see devastation day in and day out that barely gets reported on because they convince everyone that they're natural disasters. If people knew that these were actually terror attacks from our own government, well, there would be a literal uprising. Again, no pun intended. So those videos that I did on Turkey, that was one of the reasons that I believe the channel was, I can't say, I got to watch my tongue, but I know a YouTuber who had another channel that had a lot of subs, every single time he seemed to always get to 100,000. And those videos on Turkey exposing what it was got that channel eliminated. So I don't know where that YouTuber is, but he was pretty good, I think. He was all right. But they don't want you to realize that these events in the sky are more than what they tell you they are. So sometimes they'll just dismiss it as Starlink, and then other times they'll try and use the programming to convince people, like you saw in that clip. I played that so you could see what they do, right? They put the music behind it, and ooh, UFOs, right? This is specific programming. This is Tavistock. All these people on the news are all trained, okay? And when they're not trained and they're not given a script, and when they're randomly showing the sky because they do the weather report, and these cameras that they use are just cameras that are positioned on top of buildings, they just cut to the camera. You ever see when they cut and there's a bird on the camera and they get all, there's a bird on the camera, right? This is a stationary camera. So they cut to a stationary camera all the time just to show you a full city shot. This isn't from a live helicopter, because if there was somebody piloting this from a helicopter, they would have not aired this. They would have not want you to see it, because they don't want you to see it. Now you might say, well, they don't want you to see it, but what about the people in Dallas? Well, the people in Dallas who saw it, the only thing that they'd be able to do is tweet about it and things like that, and everyone's desensitized. They would just say that it was Starlink. But since it aired on the news, and then the news anchors just immediately dismissed it, you should automatically be suspicious of what it is. So Project Bluebeam is something that we know is going to happen. It's been discussed. I think it's been out in the open for almost 30 years, 40 years, somewhere in that range, where the plans of the CIA to create an event in the sky, which would be a massive delusion, and they could do alien invasion with Bluebeam. Obviously, we've all heard the stories about Bluebeam in regards to the Antichrist, or in regards to a fake second coming of Christ, which ties in a lot with a lot of the narrative of a lot of Christians who are drawing more and more to trying to guess the date of the return, because they're getting more and more miserable here on earth and trying to figure out when God's coming. And they'll be very easily will fall for this stuff. Very easily. Project Bluebeam. Right? It'll be an event in the sky that looks like the return of Christ or a rapture-like event, and these people will fall for it. That's why I warn Christians about all this type of stuff and this mentality of having, this, following YouTuber. A lot of people criticize me because they say, hey, this guy's always so negative, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. You can have whatever opinion you want, but you got to be careful when you follow these guys who claim to be YouTube prophets, because they could be setting you up for something like this while you're hoping, it's God's return. They're not aware of how the government operates. And they're not realizing that the government's manipulating the skies and doing all these things, not just to condition people with UFO invasions, but to also create events in the sky. So there's so many things that could be factored into this. And again, this was posted over on the website by Willow Fox. And I'm curious to see what anybody else out there thinks. If anybody else out there, usually this is stuff we'll talk about on the website, but if anybody out there who isn't on the website, it's on YouTube, saw this over the sky in Dallas, let me know. Let us know. Just comment, and and I know people could be trolling, but you take it with a grain of salt, right? You got to see what some people say. But I'm curious to see what everybody thinks about something like this. Texas is a place, I've been talking about it for years. Texas and Florida are honeypots for an event to occur. Now, the event could be weather manipulated, which very well could be what we're seeing in the sky here, some type of ionosphere shot here where something's going to come, or a test run, of course, of Bluebeam or something else. But I would keep a close eye on Texas, because this isn't the first time. If you actually Google weird things in the sky in Texas, there's a lot of stories that come up over the last couple of months with weird things in the sky. Oh, it's just Starlink. Oh, another thing, which is a conditioning mechanism. That's a conditioning mechanism. But here, they're not running any stories about what was in the sky. This was just casually caught on the air, and they didn't really know what to say about it. They're like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll look into it. Well, over 24 hours has gone by, and nobody's looked into it because there's been no answers. There's been nothing posted by Fox. There's nothing viral, et cetera, et cetera. So what was it? Oh, you're going to dismiss it as Starlink again? Or does that not fit the narrative? Because pretty much every time there's Starlink, you tell us ahead of time, because Starlink lets you know ahead of time. And in this case, they didn't let anyone know. Did Starlink just accidentally shoot something up? Yeah, okay. And I was born yesterday. More government crap floating in the sky, getting shot up into the sky. And of course, everybody's just distracted by, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and other stuff. The government is preparing for something big, very, very big. And it's going to be going down very, very soon. Because Agenda 2030, remember, is Agenda 2025. So something, and I know most people are like, well, the elections aren't going to occur. Well, something's going to occur. Something's going to occur before 2025. So keep your eyes open. And stories like this are important for people to just be aware of, because if some event occurs there, then you can start pointing fingers at things like this up in the sky, depending on what the event is. I thank everyone for being here. Just wanted to do a quick video on this. Again, thanks to Willow Fox on the website. Hope to see more people over there, uprisingrevival.com. Lots of stuff going on in regards to the magic potions in the next round here that people need to know about. But most importantly over there is the forum where you could share stuff like this. You can't share videos, you can't share pictures here on YouTube. And most of the comments you guys write, you all know, get deleted or they go into spam. YouTube censors it. Somebody could flag your comment, which I have tons of trolls. So if you have a word in there, it'll be blocked, etc., etc. It's a nightmare. YouTube's a nightmare, but I'm here to reach new people, so that's why I'm still here. But hope to see more people on the website, Uprising Revival. And again, please sub to my backup channels. They are linked below, Uprising Revival and United Uprising. I need more people over there so I can build out the other channels in the event this one's down soon, which it will be. I thank you guys again. God bless all of you as always, and your families.